top-tier jungles.
Hey, all right. It's
Ready to
time
get into
move
game.
Yeah, Picks and Bans, ESC Ever versus Jin Air Green Wings. Looks like Twisted Fate and Bard the first ban. So despite Key not playing today, Jin Air still banning that Bard against ESC Ever.
That's strange. Totoro hasn't played a game of that Bard in quite a while. The Nidalee ban makes a lot more sense. We actually have 5 champions at 100% pick and ban rate so far this season. Maokai, Nidalee, Ryze, Echo, and Kindred. So we'll see if either of those top 2-tier jungler picks. Nope, already
There's
confirmed.
Kindred.
Both of them out of the pool.
Yep. Kindred the final ban for ESC Ever. Jin Air, we'll see what they decide to take out next.
Power
Wait
left.
for it. I mean, would you want to take out something like a Ryze, perhaps, here?
Ryze makes a lot of sense. Rek'Sai also is
Yeah.
definitely the strongest jungle pick available. But I guess if you're trading Rek'Sai for Elise, you have an option. Now it seems like Elise is really catapulted to the strongest available jungler, but Crazy loves the Ryze. He actually played it in a matchup against Maokai against CJ Entus, so they're happy to snap it up, and of course it is that flex pick for Ever.
I mean, the thing is, though, is by taking that Ryze, that gives Lucian and Elise over to Jin Air. Lucian especially has been first pick worthy pretty much the whole first week of LCK Summer, and Elise, they kind of grab one of the last remaining strong junglers in the pool. I mean, yeah, I suppose you've got Graves as an option, maybe Lee Sin, yeah, if you're blessed. But I think Jin Air did pretty well in the first couple picks here.
It's worth noting in yesterday's series, there was a game where Lucian fell through picks and bans. He was at 100% pick ban rate beforehand.
That was really weird, though.
It was strange, but Ever is more of an Ashe team. You know, Loken does love to both initiate and hard carry. Sivir and Ashe, we've seen very recent data points where he's done massive things, so there are plenty of possible answers available.
I mean, that's the other thing to consider, too, is that Sivir is still available for ESC Ever. Will they actually take this Kha'Zix? I wonder.
We saw a top lane Kha'Zix in the LPL. Well, we kind of saw it, just kind of fed in the top lane. Didn't really contribute
it was
too much.
There. It didn't really
It was
do
selected.
much. Wow,
it looks like it's going to be selected here. Okay.
Sweet. All right, so Kha'Zix taken alongside that Karma for ESC Ever. Interesting.
I guess, given the fact that we saw it in the top lane, there's an outside chance that we're going to have some shenanigans when it comes to lane assignments in this game.
I mean, mid-rise, I suppose, maybe top lane Kha'Zix. It seems like with that Karma, they'd be thinking about picking up Sivir. It's going to be the Azir for Blank, though. He did play that, I believe, their first time out, if I remember right. That was their second game. And then maybe the Braum.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexible support options and plenty of range support plays. Stuff like Nami is getting picked up pretty commonly. They will lock in the Bard, so they definitely have some pick elements with Elise and now Braum in the lineup. Sure. We just have to wait and see. You know, we're waiting for Ever to really tell us what they're running, because these champs already are very interesting selections. Just where is the Kha'Zix going? It's crazy that we have to even ask that question.
I'm just transfixed by the Korean commentators right now. I'm sorry. You can do this pick ban by yourself.
All right. I'll focus on the action, which for now is just really considering their options. They need to pick an AD carry. Sivir, as you say, seems like very much the likely choice. They could go for Ezreal as well. Ezreal is, of course, the native laning choice against the Lucian for the safe lane where you can just hang back. But you've already picked a laning support in Karma, if it is to be Karma support. So you could go for something else. And this is very much looking like it will be the jungle Kha'Zix and Tempt returning to the Varus that has always been a staple pick. Whether it was Athena in the mid lane or Tempt, they have always been a team that loves to pick the Varus. And you see the summoner spell choice right now, the teleport. They actually pioneered double teleport, including a teleport Varus in the mid lane, back around Casper Cup and when they went to IEM. So this is definitely a real possibility forever.
Well, that Varus did immense amounts of damage for ESC Ever in their first match against CJ.
Something insane.
Yeah, it was crazy for sure. Looks like Echo, the final pickup for Jin Air. They're going to send that up to the top lane for Trace.
But this is something that Ever do. They're happy to pick confidence picks for themselves, even if there's a natural counter on the other side there. If you see Braum picked in an earlier rotation, they will still take the Varus, even though he's still able to block a lot of damage with the Unbreakable. They took Ashe into Braum last week as well. So this is just Ever playing out their game plan. It's just, can they navigate the early game with a Kha'Zix? We saw Africa last season try to make the Kha'Zix work and fail miserably. That was with LeBlanc Kha'Zix, where they desperately needed to get a lot of mid lane snowball. How will this Kha'Zix play? Will it be a very defensive jungle path? Because if so, if Jin Air get pressure in the lanes with the likes of Azir and Echo, and Wing can go counter jungling, you worry about getting blessed through the early game.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be kind of the big test. Winged again with that very, very standard, very powerful Elise pick too. He can put a lot of pressure on that Kha'Zix, I think.
Standard lanes look like Ever's going to be heavily pushed in and top and mid at least early. Of course, they have the Karma lane to apply some pressure. Will we see them actually initiate a lane swap just to try to baby Kha'Zix through the early levels, stop there being any level 2, level 3 contests in the jungle, because you have to give the natural advantage, both in pushing and in the jungle matchup early to Elise.
Yeah, that's right. So it looks like we are loading into the game right now, guys. A big test for ESC Ever as they go up against Generic Green Wings, and Generic Green Wings trying to prove that they belong in the top of the standings here in the LCK once again. I'm excited, man. This could be a great match. You told me before this you thought it was going to go 3 games. We will see.
I hope we're going to see a hype series. We haven't seen a 3-game series yet. Both these teams have looked great in their early play, and this should cement which team is the stronger of the two and which team is pushing Samsung at the top of the table.
That's right. So with that, Jin Air versus ESC Ever. Time to get in the game. Oh man, I had to speed that one up.
That was the quickest throw to game I've ever heard.
Let me get a game. Looks like it's a Water Drake first up for ESC versus Jin Air here in game number 1 of LCK Summer.
It's fun how the photo tour can now actually show you something pertinent and then go to the grand overview.
It's true. I mean, I gotta say, I get leery whenever there's any sort of randomness introduced in games like this, but as a viewer, as a caster, I really love the Elemental Drakes. It's really, really fun to kind of see it change the game.
So I want to actually draw the viewer's attention to one keystone in particular. Usually these keystones are kind of whatever.
Sure.
Look at Bless. He's actually taking Storm Raider's Surge onto the Kha'Zix. Now, of course, mid lane Ryze commonly picks this up this one way. If you do a certain amount of the enemy's health bar, you get the extra movement speed. Think of Kha'Zix's playstyle. You have a very short cooldown on your Q, so you get in there, burst, and then move for the second Q to do more damage. We're seeing Ever go for a delayed invade, and we see Jin Air actually looking to push into lane and actually get some of this first minion wave in the lane swap.
Huh. So Ever not finding anybody right now.
They're just wasting time.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're just going to get to lane late, so already a little bit of an edge for Jin Air, huh?
So there's a lot of teams that love to do this style. You come with your jungler and top laner into a lane before the lane swap, push it up, delay the timings for when the minion waves will break in terms of the lane swap, and you just get extra golden experience that you wouldn't if you started a jungle camp. So when it comes to the rock, paper, scissors of the early lane swap that, of course, has happened because you can't get as much aggressive vision down, big victory to Jin Air in just getting that extra experience onto their duo.
Yeah. The dice were rolled, and it came up Jin Air.
It's funny how there's dice rolls and lane swaps, there's dice rolls and dragons. We Hearthstone now, boys.
It's going to be a bit dicey, yeah, that's right. League of Skill. Well, yes, Ever going for that early lane swap, of course, as is Jin Air. So not a whole lot of interaction between these two teams.
Which suits Ever. Remember, they're going to have Ryze, who has to do his hyper-scaling into late game with his tier and catalyst items. Right. They have Kha'Zix, who is going to fall very, very low in the jungle. There were a lot of buffs to Kha'Zix over the course of many patches. Like a lot of champions, falls out of play, and then you see buff after buff after buff. Eventually, we're kind of at the point where it is tempting to play him. It's just getting him through the laning phase is so unreliable. Maybe this is the game where Ever can make us a believer of the Kha'Zix pick on 6.10.
Well, I mean, it's a good start so far. He hasn't been harassed at all in that jungle, as Winged is on the opposite side of the map as him. But, I mean, the big question is, you know, in those later game team fights, can he get in? You know, is he going to be knocked away by the Emperor's Divide? Is he going to be cocooned before he can actually get back and do any damage? You know, is Lucio just going to back away and give him the calling right in the face? So, I mean, with Kha'Zix, you still kind of have to find those flanks to, like, come over a wall at people. You can't run right at him, you know?
The item build also is kind of in flux. When we saw Lyra play him, he kind of went past the jungle item and just went for a very early Tiamat into Hydra, you know, looking for that AoE clear, because Kha'Zix doesn't have a lot of AoE damage when he's clearing camps. You know, helps him farm more than a jungle item might. But there's, of course, the temptation to just go for the warrior enchant. There's always more data points needed for these edge meta champions like Kha'Zix. Yeah. And we haven't seen the build that really justifies bringing him into competitive. I want to see a 2-item build for Kha'Zix that actually makes him relevant during the mid-game.
Right. So for now, Temp just teleporting back to lane. No big deal. Of course, Blanc did not take the teleport for that Azir, so no TP edge or anything going to Jin Air right now.
But you have to say Ever is really taking a gamble. I mean, they will always do this. They will play teleport Varus. Now, when he played Varus last week, there was no teleport, but it's back this game against Bard Elise. And even the Echo, who will be relevant in team fights. So
Braum Elise.
Sorry, that's right. The Braum Elise, sorry. And then
you got
the
Bard
Echo.
on the brain, man.
I do.
I can't blame you.
I'm thinking of the Bard boys. There's no key, sadly, so...
We miss the Bard.
We do. But with all that CC, team fights, navigating it as the Varus, even the laning phase, how far back you have to sit just to get safe farm, you do worry for the amount of map pressure you can put on when Ryze is just kind of farming in top, when Varus has taken a summoner spell that will force him to hang back in mid. If his flash is down, he basically has to farm a couple 100 units behind his turret. You do worry about the pressure, but that means that Jin Air will have to be proactive to punish what we expect to be a heavily passive early game from Ever.
Well, good poke from Tempt, despite the passivity. Like taking a couple autos, taking a Q damage. Bless maybe thinking about coming in. I feel like Tempt was seeing how much damage he could put onto this Azir, and then if it was good enough, maybe they would have brought Bless in, but they decided against it in the end.
It could have been that he was close to pinging 6, but remember, Blanc has the cleanse, so the kill potential is really not there unless he's below half health. Kha'Zix does good burst damage if the target is isolated, but realistic kill pressure is kind of absent.
Yeah. I feel like it'd be kind of confusing to... Oh, Bless coming in. But he's
confirming what we were talking about before. Tiamat is the first pickup, so again, to help him clear the jungle. Almost every other AD jungler gets more help clearing from getting the warrior enchant, rushing that down. But Kha'Zix realistically needs the Tiamat if he's going to match the enemy jungler in terms of farm.
So would this be confusing for our dear friends Chips and Noir in France casting if they're talking about Blanc and they call him LeBlanc? But that would get a little bit confusing, I think.
I agree.
I don't know if you do that, though. I don't know anything about the French language.
You probably could just skip over the masculine and feminine when you're casting.
I probably can. You would know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You wouldn't say the Blanc, though. You wouldn't say the Doa.
Well, you would if you were making like a Homestar Runner cartoon or something. The cheat.
I'm not sure what Doa. Chips and Noir knew when they're not casting League. Maybe that's what they do.
Watching Homestar Runner sounds like a good idea to me. Crazy coming back up to farm in lane, which isn't too crazy, really.
Well, I mean, if you look at where he is relative to where his turret is, he's pretty far up against an Elise jungle. Now, he's got two defensive wards, a pink and also a pretty shallow blue, but Uri is a champion who usually isn't even safe under his own turret when it comes to the pressure of turret dives, but for now, feeling frisky enough to push up.
I mean, he had all of the ways into his own jungle covered except for one, and Wing does get spotted by that ward anyways, and Ping's going down, so Crazy should be pretty safe up in that top lane for the moment anyway.
What has Totoro been doing to be 2 levels under the enemy duo lane?
That's a good question. Well, he's only 1 now, so I guess it must have been just like a little over 1.
But still, a full level at this early in the game is considerable timeout. We haven't seen him invading with the jungle or anything, so I guess just been hanging back as far as we could tell.
Didn't see if maybe he, took a lot of damage or something at one point and just had to sit back a bit.
Off camera, he's certainly just taking a chill pill when it comes to picking up experience, but shouldn't be too relevant. Karma is really oppressive even at level 1 with lane presence from Q, so going to be doing just fine.
True.
Trading starts in top. Remember, we do have Kha'Zix hanging around, but going to back away.
Yeah, so despite both of these teams playing aggressive pick comps last time out, this time it is kind of back to business as usual, I feel like, for Jin Air.
And when it comes to Ever, they're kind of quelled in their aggression because they don't really have a comp that can force things early. They can get some good picks, but when it comes to junglers doing early dragons or soloing, or even duoing dragons, Kha'Zix has so much of a struggle. The Q damage is there because the dragon is isolated, but you're so squishy innately that you can't really hope to do that. You can't gank the mid lane because of the cleanse. It's a very low percentage gank game for Bless. So Ever farming is a win for them early game. They do play aggressive comps. They do play pick comps where they have to make things happen early, but this is a game where if you get those early snowballs, you feel great. If you farm, you still feel pretty great too.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, CS pretty even across the board. I mean, just not really a whole lot going on. Parallel convergence, but I suppose it is descriptive, isn't it? Whoa, Blank goes in, but Temp dodges the Emperor's Divide.
Yeah, draws the summoner, so successful gank coming through. Now, it's going to be difficult for there to be enough pressure in mid lane. Tempt's going to really have to hang back. If they can deny blue from him, that'd be massive, because otherwise he can just stay a screen away and clear with Q. But very nice trade from Blanc. And we should talk, I guess, about the Tristana that is the answer they've picked in this game to take on the Lucian. The farming phase has been fine. The issue with Tristana, why we haven't seen her in the meta, is that the itemization for the non-Essence Reaver AD carries is very nebulous. It almost feels like you have to go for one of those Zeal items first. So we could really see Static Shiv coming through from Loken, or we could see an Infinity Edge Rush. Right now only has the pickaxe, but of course could definitely go for Zeal and a Zeal item from there.
Yeah, true. Static Shiv would be great, you know, of course, for the wave clear.
Trist is still definitely relevant in the late game. It's just when every other AD carry can build Yomu's Ghost Blade into Black Cleaver, or just get a big 2-item power spike with Mana Moon into Iceborne Gauntlet, these carries that need 3-4 items and lots of levels and time get pushed out of the meta. So making the Tristana work is risky, but they're running Ryze and Tristana, so they're really investing in late game, and it means things like contesting this dragon, just not a world that ever can opt into.
Yeah, so Jin Air gets the first dragon in the game. That's one Ocean Drake, so they will be able to regen out of combat a little bit faster now. Looks like Mountain Drake on the way next, which is good. You know, if you're Jin Air, you want to be able to siege at some point in the game, so having that extra damage to turret and big minions too.
And if you desperately want it, because whenever you're a comp like this Varus Tristana who can explode turrets and poke really heavily under turrets, Mountain Drake, I think Mountain Drake is the most powerful, just given its flexible use on both the neutral objectives and the turrets. You know, some people will say Infernal. Infernal is very powerful, but the true damage onto objectives and in such an objective-focused game really is strong, and this is a comp that demands it, as Loken definitely does seem like he might actually be going for just straight Infinity Edge.
Wow, alright, just going for that damage. I gotta say, too, that the Mountain Drake, more than anything, what I've noticed is that it's just enabled these teams to try for quicker, earlier Barons than you would normally see, too. And so teams have been having a little bit of a hard time playing around that, because you just have your opponents taking Baron when you don't expect it to happen because of that Mountain Drake buff. And it really does kind of change the sort of the interactions in the later parts of the game.
But that's why these dragons are so cool, though. It's because
I like it a lot.
Now things will happen in-game. Like, you get these, say, 2 Mountain Drakes early, and then you have to play as if Baron is bugged and takes too much damage. You have to modify your playstyle heavily to play around the new win conditions that are now open to the enemy side. So the RNG element of it's not ideal, but now that we've gone away from this phase where 2 dragons come down, it's the inevitable roll towards 5, nobody can test the 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Now we're in a world where, depending on which dragon spawns, you have to modify your playstyle. And that sort of modification has led to much more interesting games, at least this early in the season.
Yeah, so far. I mean, we've seen the past 2 how, or last week rather, how getting a number of Infernal Drakes can help you go toe-to-toe as an early game oriented comp against a late game team comp that doesn't have that buff too. So
and there was that triple Ocean game where the regen was just insane.
That's
so
right.
You definitely get these edge cases where something happens that will happen 1 out of 50 games, just given the perfect roll of dragons. And it's fun to see teams adapt to it, because the best teams are the ones that can make those on-the-fly shot calls, that can modify their game plan based on how the game's going. And that's now not just this guy got super fed, so the game's different. It's now these dragons spawned, and we have to play intelligently around the game that's presented itself to us at 25 minutes.
Right. So for now, Totoro just chasing Che back to his own side of the jungle. Other than that, still not a whole lot of action besides that 1 dragon take.
We cursed this. We called this exciting. We were like,
I know.
Jin Air's exciting. Yup. Based on 1 series. Why do we do this to ourselves?
Oh, Cocoon on to Bless. This might be an opportunity. That's a ton of burst damage as Bless just ults to get out, using that invisibility to escape. Okay. Yeah. He hopped away, so he didn't have to use his flash.
No one flashed in the end. Only Tempt has flashed down from that earlier gank. Bless keeps going back, though.
Looks like Trace used his.
Yeah, you're right. So it went for the pick with the teleport. So I get the flash for just the summoner. So that's a good trade there for Ever. But now the map pressure continues to be exclusively for Jin Air. So this Rift Herald is definitely a realistic objective.
Yep. And there's not a lot that ESC Ever can do about it, I guess. Ryze can't do anything about it. Besides, he's got too much to do farming minions in lane anyway. He can't be bothered with this Rift Herald.
I mean, double tier, Rod of Ages, Tristana that's not even gone for an early power cycle, because at least Shiv gives you a little bit of burst damage, gives you good wave pressure.
I suppose.
Basically, almost exclusively gone for Infinity Edge. Of course, with the dagger, you could still buy into a Zeal item with the flat AD, but no one has gone for early combat stats compared to Youmuu's Ghostblade on Pilot, the Nashor's Tooth on Blanc. The itemization tells the real story of this game. Jin Air want power early, and Ever are happy to wait for the late game to get the most out of their early purchases.
That's right. But are we happy to wait till the late game? I guess you are, probably.
Look, I'm excited to see. I don't mind a team building exclusively for the late game if they actually show an interesting way of getting through a difficult early game. If it's just the enemy team takes the foot off and then gets surprised when they get outscaled, I don't like that sort of a game. But so far, Jin Air are taking Dragon. They are taking the Rift Herald. They are pushing advantages in this time when Ever is basically saying, look, ceasefire, we're fine over here, we're just doing our thing. You guys do whatever you want with the map.
I suppose it's true. And Bless, I mean, he hasn't died on this Kha'Zix, but he hasn't really done a whole lot. I guess he almost died once, but arrow goes through. Ooh. Oh, Temp trying to steal away that blue buff. Doesn't quite land it, though. That was really close. I thought he was going to get it, but the smite from Winged came through just in time.
Blanc has a blue buff, so unclear if that was the own blue. No, it was the blue, so he was actually able to claim it, which that would have been a very close interaction. Wing doesn't have blue, so it would have gone over to the Azir, so that was actually
you're right.
Really close take.
Yeah, my bad.
Went for the roll.
Not bad for Blanc.
Doing your Ezreal impression with the Q, but not quite getting the steal. Jin Air showing a lot of pressure around mid. They want to make this game. They want to increase the pace of this game and ensure that these stacking items don't get stacked for free. So the best way to do that, rotate around lanes, rotate around mid. Now, the window to do that, ideally, was when the flash was down for Tempt. It's back up now, so more difficult to really assault this mid lane turret and try and blow open the game.
Yep. But this game could use some blowing open because it's very, very passive right now.
Definitely is.
Dragon in about 20 seconds, that Mountain Drake that we talked about earlier.
And Loken actually went for first item Phantom Dancer. This is really intriguing. So normally you'd expect Static Shiv if it was to be a Zeal item. Phantom Dancer is really about trading with an enemy that you're taking damage from and winning a damage trade. So I'm really interested to see what a damage trade between Pilot and Loken looks like with this Phantom Dancer first, because you are going to be reducing that damage by 12%. It's just, you're reducing 12% of what is a super a lot when you're talking about Youmuu's Ghostblade into the Black Cleaver.
Right. Jin Air gearing up to do that Mountain Drake, and if I were ESC Ever, I would be pretty worried about letting them have it. We may actually see our first fight here. Loken a little bit cut off from the rest of the team, though.
Do they feel powerful enough with a 4-stack Rod of Ages with just a single item on their mid laner? Flash in.
Flash Cocoon onto Totoro, but Totoro just flashes in response and gets away from it. Nice Q from Tempt, taking a chunk out of Che.
With the way that the blue buff timers have been up, the blue buff will be spawning soon. Tempt's actually below half mana, so actually a pretty big problem for Ever.
Yep. Very true. ESC Ever, though, moving down towards that dragon. They really want it.
They either want to claim it or delay it. So claiming Vision is good.
Cocoon onto Bless. Bless might be in big trouble here. Hops away, gets slowed down by the Q from Che. That Braum passive, though, of course, not procced. Nobody else really around. But ESC Ever not wanting to give up this dragon without a fight. Loken finally coming up. Now, oh, he gets caught! First blood goes over to Jin Air and Winged. Man, I didn't even see them there.
I mean, Loken had no vision anywhere near, had just seen a Cocoon come onto his jungler to chunk him out, then face-checked a brush and died. So that's just a poor movement from Ever. They didn't have the vision to cut through the jungle so aggressively, and first blood's very late, but it goes over to Jin Air.
Yeah. And now they're going to claim the dragon as well. They're taking it right now. And so, one Mountain Drake, one Ocean Drake. And I got to say, things are going pretty well for Jin Air. And going into this, you were saying 2-1, and you actually said 2-1 Ever.
That's correct.
I never made my prediction, but what I was thinking, in my head, I was thinking 2-0 Jin Air.
Well,
so look, I'll make that announcement right now. Not based on what I was saying. The fact that winning just reminded me that I was already thinking this.
I like how you're calm and casually pointing out how you're increasingly likely to have a correct prediction.
I feel that it's important that people know.
This is a play-by-play cast, a prediction segment where you're like, actually, if I think back, I think I predicted what happened. I'm feeling pretty good.
Hey, I'm pretty good at predicting winners of things, aren't I? I mean, I just pick SKT, and I'm nearly always right.
Look, I put a lot of analysis into my predictions, but just bet on Faker seems like it's increasingly becoming actually the way to go for international competition.
Well, you don't even need to bet on Faker. You just don't bet against SKT.
Well,
that's what you do.
Let's see if that's still the story when Faker's gone from SKT, if that is to happen in the future.
Wow, I hope not, man. Don't. I want to sleep tonight, so don't make me have to worry about that.
That's fair. Look, not going to happen anytime soon, but always the outside chance. The man has claimed a lot of titles in Korea.
Next time I see
Teleport
Faker,
coming in.
Promise me you'll never leave.
This is a
TP
big
coming
flank.
in for Jin Air. Nice hop from Loken. Parallel Convergence does not catch him. Totoro in a bit of trouble. Turns around to try to tank that ultimate from Braum, and tank it he does. A kill goes over to Pilot. Pilot, not a good neighbor for Totoro. Oh, Bless comes in. Or rather, Bless goes out as Blanc comes in. Nice response from Bless. Just hop over that Emperor's Divide, but Wing going to catch him anyway with that Cocoon. Bless with a little bit of damage from that Q, but Jin Air has claimed this bottom jungle for themselves.
This pick ban and just the playstyle that's been forced from EVER because they went for all this scaling because they realistically couldn't fight early with all their scaling, Ryze in particular, but the Kha'Zix who also does struggle to have early impact. A lot of these drafts remind me of SKT when they were really flagging in MSI, you know, when they were struggling, when they were on that 0-4 run, when they surrendered the safest objectives. It feels like surrendering objectives early as Temp's a long way up.
Yeah, he went pretty far up. He flashed. There's a Chains of Corruption in response, but will he get away? Looks like he will for now. So that ultimate, if that hadn't connected, Tempt would be already dead.
Just to return to the point I was trying to make, it feels like in this meta with the Elemental Dragons, you can't give up free objectives because it's not like before where you could give up 2 or 3 dragons and then say, okay, this is the go time. You can lose very relevant buffs that affect the early and late game if you don't fight for those dragons. So going so heavily into scaling, so heavily into that investment for the late game, feels like it's not the same risk reward with the introduction of the Elemental Drake. So that's why I fear for EVER, even though we're probably 2-3 minutes away from them really hitting their stride in terms of power spikes.
Ooh, Infernal Drake coming up next too. So speaking of power spikes, if EVER can grab that, that's going to give them a nice boost. But first they have to try not to lose their mid lane turret. I don't know if they can do that. It's going to barely live for now. Bless jumps in, Blanc rather. Dashes out, I know. It's going to be happening all season.
I really hope you're casting EVER SKT.
Why do they do this to me, man?
I'm waiting for Blanc versus Blanc.
I don't want the Blanc matchup. I can't handle that.
You managed the Lee-Eve match with Eve playing Eve, so you'll be fine.
Well, I also managed it with Lee playing Eve and Eve playing Lee.
Oh, names.
First world esports problems.
Yep. You did get to cast plenty of Korean matches, Doa. So.
Yeah. I have to cast the best region in the world.
Oh, it's a tough life.
Life is hard.
How are your diamond shoes doing there, Doa?
Well, more like silver shoes for me, really.
That's fair.
Maybe like silver.
I think you could pull
silver
off.
2 is.
Oh. I see where you're going now.
Yeah. Just talking about my ranking in LoL.
I think you could pull off diamond shoes, though.
You think so?
Yeah.
If I played enough, I suppose. Maybe.
Yeah, this turret's so low in mid, though. I mean, everything just keeps stacking against EVER, but they have that team comp. I remain to be convinced you can actually use it when you're surrendering things as powerful as an early Mountain Dragon. If they have to surrender the Infernal Drake as well, that's, I think, the bridge too far, where
I think so too.
Even if you've got this 6 scaling, when everyone else on the enemy team's got 8% bonus, has other different bonuses in their pockets, some of those item break-evens become less relevant.
I agree. I think if Jin Air gets this Infernal Drake, I think it's going to be very, very tough for EVER. Oh, wait for it. Zhonya's basically just kind of negating that Chains of Corruption. Blanc still takes a bit of damage from the Varus Q.
It's not something I actually thought through, but the buffs to Zhonya's basically that they come so cheaper as we see a lot of turrets being taken, and Jin is certainly winning this race. EVER cannot hope to opt into this. They're trying to take 2 for 1, but they're going to lose an inhibitor turret if they don't make a different movement.
Well, Blanc got forced out of mid lane at least, so EVER trading 2 turrets for 2, but man, that second turret that Jin Air's taking is in the base. I don't know about that.
When this is very early in the game, you know, when we see the 10-minute inhibitor takedowns, okay, you can freeze the wave and play around that. When it's this late, when Baron's on the map, you really do not want to give up an inhibitor turret for free. They're going to go for a big play.
Yeah, they're going to try it out. Temp teleporting in, gets a Q onto Pilot as Bless joins the fray, has to hop out though. Flash from Shay, Pilot taking a lot of damage, gets Root Prison. Nice Q from Temp to pick that kill up. Crazy going in, but nothing insane about that play.
Just a single pick, but the Infernal Drake spawns in 10 seconds. So if EVER picks it up,
it's big,
and they get defensive vision around this inhibitor, maybe things won't be so bad, but
they
you
might
really
lose their inhibitor.
It's all right. The minions are actually wailing on it. We can't see on our screens what health it's at, but that's 3 group minion waves.
I mean, it's true, though. They needed this dragon more than they need that inhibitor, and it's actually not taking a whole lot of damage in the end, I suppose, anyway. So, big deal for Ever that they get that one Infernal Drake, and that's a good damage boost. And like we said, they need it right now. They need that damage to be able to go toe-to-toe with Jin Air.
Yeah, their scaling going to be amplified with the percentage bonuses. But they're going to really have to be smart at rotating around what is now a big weakness. Having your inhibitor turret down in the top lane, it means they don't have a lot of map pressure on their own blue, which is so important for Varus to really get the cooldown low enough to clear those waves with the piercing arrow.
Yeah.
It makes it more difficult and more risky for them to face check and get Baron Vision. And one of the reasons why that's so relevant this game is that who exactly is going to be placing that Baron Vision? They have a ranged support in Karma that can be exploded very easily. Their jungler is Kha'Zix, a damage jungler that won't really build any tankiness till 4th or 5th item. Maybe Crazy can get in there, but right now, getting Vision around Baron is super difficult forever.
Yeah, super difficult forever.
Well, I mean, with this team comp, literally, it will be.
Well, they managed to defend their mid lane turret, though. I thought that was going to go right down pretty fast. Only an auto attack or 2 away. But they cleared the wave, and that'll be fine for the moment anyway.
Just really relying on their lane assignments to make up for what is a lot of pressure on the enemy.
Trace over the wall on the Crazy. Oh, wait. Never mind. I forgot they're both top laners. Oh, no. Bless walks into the brush by the red buff, and that's an easy kill for Jin Air. Well, probably shouldn't have been walking in there without vision, huh?
Well, you could have said that about Loken earlier in the game. So Ever really like face checking. Key is someone who's known for this on his support as well, so it seems like a team-wide problem. Ever love aggressive League of Legends, but sometimes they get too brash. They disrespect their opponents, and Jin Air are not one to be trifled with.
I guess so. Crazy walking up against Cocoon, though. Trace and Winged are there. Crazy trying to back off. He's still a big threat, even 2v1 on that Rise. But that red buff looks like it's going to go over to Jin Air anyway.
I mean, Ever's just not playing around Vision.
Maybe, yep. They force him away for the second. Totoro trying to help Crazy or somebody, anybody except for somebody on Jin Air pick that up. Red buff resets, gets all its health back, and that means it will go over to Loken, who's squeezing his dragon much faster than any dragon should be squeezed. That's disturbing.
Very cruel to the dragon, at least.
It is.
The wave clear is still good, so this turret that's been on life support HP for a good 10 minutes has stayed up, and it means that Jin Air haven't got as aggressive vision as they would want, haven't been able to push their advantage, and the items start piling up. 2 item Tristana, soon to be 3, with the Last Whisper soon into what you'd have to assume would be the Mortal Reminder, given that we have an Echo on the enemy team. The Raya stacking up as well. It's going to be Seraph's Embrace coming through as well before too long, so Ever are hitting those break-evens. They picked up that Answering Dragon that we pointed to as one of the key kind of breaking points for Ever's comp if they were to surrender it. And for now, at least, they've been safe enough to get Baron Vision down. So Jin Air haven't been able to push that advantage, and we're getting increasingly to the point where I fancy Ever in a team fight.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the big key, isn't it? Is if they can find that team fight, they can start to bring this back against Jin Air. And I feel like, ooh, teleport coming in. They're going to try to catch Tempt here. Gets canceled, though. So now Trace without a teleport. TP advantage goes over to Ever for the moment. And we'll see if they can use that to maybe set up a team fight here.
Team fighting isn't by any means a guarantee for Ever. They have champions that can be zerged down. Oh, we see a lot of action happening.
Yeah, Chains of Corruption used up in the mid lane. Meanwhile, Trace taking a lot of damage from Crazy and Bless. Winged is there, too. Blanc backing away. Che lost a lot of health before he had to retreat from the fight. And Ever kind of muscles Jin Air out of that mid lane for the moment.
The key thing for Ever in teamfights is to use their massive single target damage to burst down one member. Because in a true 5v5, Jin Air can push back with the Azir, kite backwards very well with Braum Azir. It's not a guaranteed teamfight win. It's just the item break-evens and the sheer single target damage that is working for Ever. So skirmishes would be the ideal, but they have so many objectives down that actually getting a skirmish when you don't have vision control is very difficult. But again, focusing down one target, that's the key to Ever winning a fight.
Yeah, very true. To a certain extent, you know, they may not be strictly running a pick comp, I suppose, but they still need to get those picks.
They have the targeted CC specifically from the Rise, and you might say, okay, that's a very short duration, but when we're talking about Infinity Edge, Tristana, a Rise, a Varus, burst damage is real in short windows, so they are able to take advantage of that if and when they can. But for now, we're just all backing away. The vision is still strong on both sides. So farming phase continues, Doa.
True. Tons of farming.
Tons of farming.
Hooray.
Don't know if that's a league meme, unfortunately.
Not yet. Maybe it will be. If you were a farmer, what would you grow? What would be your crop?
Corn.
Corn? Why?
Because it goes on everything. Pizza.
Ugh, no. No. I see what you did there, but no.
A year in Korea changes a man.
Turn it into sugar that, like, destroys people?
I'm not American. I don't know much about that.
Well, it's good.
I'll take your word for it.
So we have a lot of that.
I only know natural sugar. I see items from Mexico advertising the fact they have natural sugar in them, which to me is like a crazy thing.
Yeah. Oh, whoa, okay. Blank goes for the Shurima shuffle yet again, but Crazy just flashes out of it. So, Summoner for ult. Pretty good trade for Blanc. I think I'd have a snake farm so that I could, you know, I have my name in movies as Snake Wrangler. That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
I feel like a Snake Wrangler is already a thing and not actually a snake farm.
Well, I mean, maybe the guy who wrangles the snakes also farms them. That's what I would do. I'd be the total package, floor to ceiling, all your snake needs.
Okay. Steve Irwin, but just for snakes?
Sure.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah. Gonna have fun. No, I need to pick a better animal than snake.
All right. I'm giving you a second chance.
Okay.
How about a dragon farmer?
Well, I mean a real animal.
Okay.
That means dragon farming would be cool. But maybe, I don't know, capybara. No, they're just a big rodent. Totoro takes a cocoon, takes a bit of damage. Dragon coming up, and this is another ocean drake, so not quite as vital as some of the other ones. Jin Air could certainly benefit from the sustain, as could Ever, but, you know, is it worth the big fight over? We'll see.
I think this is Ever realizing their power spikes and just fancying a fight. I don't think the buff itself is what they're really fancying. It's the fight and a potential win and a Baron off the back of it. Dragon falls low, but will regen.
Zoning. Done by Trace. Dragon will be taken by Jin Air. Bless goes in to try to steal it away. Doesn't get there quite in time. Trace kind of on his own in the pit as we see that icon for the Elder Dragon coming next. Elemental Dragon time is done.
Ever can cut here. They can push with the minion wave and possibly get an inner turret. They're in really good position for it.
That's right.
Really well prepped these minion waves so that even though they don't get the dragon, they take an inner turret. So that's actually not the worst trade given the relative value of Ocean Drake in late game.
This has ended up being a very, very close game. If you think about that Elder Dragon buff now, doubling the Infernal Drake buff that ESC Ever has, you know, getting that would do a lot in terms of giving them the power to fight a team fight against Jin Air.
Don't disagree whatsoever. The fact that no Barons have gone down really behooves Ever, who would struggle playing against the Baron and would really be able to close out the game, I think, if they could pick up a Baron, because they'd have such oppressive siege.
Probably.
With the Varus especially. Another face check.
Yep, that's right. Bless caught again. Man, he's got to stop doing that.
If you're watching this as a team that's going to be playing against Ever, you can see that they are so brash around enemy vision. They just assume.
They make some rookie mistakes sometimes, you know, and they are the new team in the league, and they've had a lot of success in Challenger, but yeah, that's an issue they're going to need to work on a bit as Jin Air now goes right for this Baron, and there's really nothing that Jin Air can do or that Ever can do about it.
No. For once, they respect the vision, but this time it's at the cost of a free Baron over to Jin Air, and this is just a reality of how Ever play. Key is not on the roster today. He's very known for doing this, especially in the early game, going for those vision roams and getting picked off by the enemy. But this time, it's been Bless taking turns, Totoro in the early game. Loken died to give up first blood.
Yep.
As I said, if you are an enemy team scouting out Ever, you can basically assume that this is how they're going to play, because consistently they've disrespected vision, atypical to how a lot of other teams in Champions, they usually play very low-risk early game movement. Ever plays a very high-risk style that sometimes can blow open games and other times can lose them critical advantages.
Yeah. Well, so far it has not worked well for them today. Still not out of the game by any stretch, though. They are down a bit. They're fighting against the Baron buff, but they still have good wave clear. They still have the ability to very quickly siege their opponents' bows if they can win a team fight or something.
With summoners up, they have a good chance of that. If the summoners are ever blown and then we see Jin Air return, you know, someone like Tempt basically being at the mercy of something like the Shurima Shuffle, then that's a big issue. But for now, summoners are available. So Ever able to push up, able to wave clear, and Jin Air finding it hard to blow this game open.
Right. Trying to protect that tier 2 in the mid lane for the moment.
Even Trace, even though he has the Guardian Angels, not fancying a turret dive just yet. They have good defensive vision for it. Crazy wants to pick up wards. This is not wants to pick up minions. This is definitely not the time for it.
Yeah, this is just going to be an easy tier 2 turret for Jin Air now. And they've got a big minion wave pushing both in top and bottom. So everything kind of going Jin Air's way at the moment.
Feels like Jin Air should be riding in the minion wave at top. Remember, this inhibitor turret's down, so they don't even really have to worry about the wave. It'll only be the poke dissuading them from a team fight. Otherwise, they should be able to force down the inhibitor. So they're going to go towards the naked inhibitor now. This should definitely be something that Jin Air is hoping to pick up with the Baron buff at about 40% duration.
Yep. Inhibitor taking a lot of damage right now as Ever tries to just poke back, but it doesn't look like it works out. Cocoon into culling means Tempt has to go ahead and try to get away. Wing, though, taking quite a bit. Bless. This Kha'Zix is so squishy.
Yep.
It's tough. And there goes the inhibitor in favor of Jin Air. Nice use of that Baron buff to pick up that big objective.
You return to my question when I said, how do they get vision around Baron? And the question has been, or that has actually generalized to how do they get vision anywhere, because we've seen so many people walk up to get vision, get picked, because no one was ever able to sweep this game. There is no one on the side of Ever that realistically could have a sweeping lens, because whichever the champions are, usually the roles that take them are jungle and support. The jungle is a damage jungler who only has Phage for any semblance of health, and then just a bit of magic resist incidentally on something like more Malmortius, or Karma, a ranged support that can't face check either. And increasingly, members are getting solo picked off, and the objectives are snowballing to the extent where Jin Air got an unanswered Baron that Ever really couldn't do anything about.
Yeah. And that's a big problem for ESC Ever. You know, if they can't fight it now, you know, when are they going to?
I just love the fact that Trace is 0-0-0 and still finished as Magi's.
Wow, that is crazy. He's like, no, now I'm going to start getting kills. Don't worry, guys.
This is the time.
The kills and the assists are coming in. Trace and actually Blanc, too. Man, 36 minutes and no interaction with fights at all for Blanc.
I just love the fact that Darkseal was introduced to kind of give you an ability to go to like dip your toes in the stacking and be like, oh, I got some stacks early. I guess I could upgrade to Magi's. This to avoid this situation where you just buy the Magi's when you have no stacks. So hilarious that he's gone for this approach, but nonetheless.
Well, whatever works for him. Jin Air moving in to try to take this inhibitor turret. Doing a bit of damage to it already. That parallel convergence zoning them away to let Pilot do a bit more damage on that Lucian.
Crazy's understood that they have no frontline, has gone early Guardian Angel, so he's the one that's going to try and dive in, get that single root on someone, and they're going to try and burst down that target. Unfortunately, if plan A doesn't work, Ever really doesn't have a plan B, given the comp and given all the buffs on the side of Jin Air.
I agree. I mean, it seems like we're kind of one big team fight away from the end of this game if Jin Air can win that team fight.
See some pings onto the Elder Dragon, which has just spawned. This will be the first of the game. Be able to double down on the double Ocean Drakes they have, and increase their ability to take both the next Baron and those turrets with the Mountain Drake.
Well, yeah, certainly help out a lot. And here we go.
Do you like free objectives?
Yeah. Well, Jin Air's been getting a lot of it this game, haven't they?
No free lunches so often the term, but free objectives left, right, and center for Jin Air. Long face text gets stunned up.
Bless gets caught. Braum ultimate comes through. Trace gonna just zone a little bit, allow his team to take that Elder Drake, and at this point, Ever kind of needs to just back up and almost treat it like another Baron buff, it seems like. They just need to defend.
That's why we always really need to hang back making predictions or grand generalizations based on one series. Ever looked like they really understood the meta, that they were ahead of the game against CJ Entus. Now we see them this game against Jin Air, where they go for this really late game comp that might have worked in previous seasons, but they've surrendered so many different objectives that now snowball with things like the Elder Dragon for no gain. Like, it feels like they've got nothing at all out of the Kha'Zix pick. The fact that they've had nobody to put down vision means they've been picked left, right, and center. This game, I'm really not convinced by what they've shown. They got away with the early game, but even then, getting an early farming phase hasn't meant anything because they just haven't been able to realistically fight for objectives.
Right. And I mean, they prioritize that Ryze, you know, over the Elise, over the Lucian as well. So they were willing to give up that jungle pick and pick something a bit unorthodox, but it really has not worked out. And now, Jin Air coming down, going for that middle inhibitor turret.
Karma's not there.
All right, well, Trace finds Crazy. Crazy doing a lot of damage to him for the moment. Trace forced to back away, so in the end, the inhibitor turret not taking a ton of hits from the Jin Air Green Wings.
Ryze is still very much a one-man army. It's just who is backing him up, who is in the front line next to him, because if it's Bless, someone who's exploded every time he's jumped into a fight, it's just really not enough manpower to actually threaten the backline from Jin. It feels like one Emperor's Divide to knock back the Kha'Zix during jump, then there's no threat onto Blanc and Pilot.
Pretty much culling used just to push Tempt away. Ouch, man. He took like over half of his life in damage from that.
This is what this build does. We're still early enough, and these guys are so fragile that the damage is certainly registering.
Yeah, well, it's registering on that turret right now. They're going to take it. They're going to go after the inhibitor, and we'll see how far Jin Air wants to push this, because I feel like they could keep going. But they won't.
They're not that kind of team, Joe. They're not the one to bite off more than they can chew.
They could have been.
They could have been, you're right. They weren't really in any scenario. They had good mana and health bars across the...
I mean, Baron's up. So, of course, you're going to go in and take that rather than, you know, risk pushing too far, losing a team fight, losing Baron. It is the right call to just go for this.
There's only a small semblance of vision, and now it's the face check game from Bless first, and now you can see Evra. They're so scared to get anywhere near this Baron, and especially in a world where blue trinkets have been so significantly nerfed, so that spot vision from range is available so much more rarely. They just have no answer. That right now, the Baron could be going down. They'd have no idea.
Yeah. Pretty much. Jin Air considering it anyway, hanging out near the Baron pit.
Here comes the teleport.
Yep, that's right. They're going to try to make a play here. Jin Air coming from behind. Trace running through. Doesn't quite find the angle I think that they were looking for, though.
See, minions hitting onto the inhibitor. Probably not enough to take it down, but Jin Air just going to return straight to the Baron.
All right, Wing getting ready. Actually goes in to help his team. Loken. They go ahead and pop that Karma E, just speed everybody up for just a minute. And Jin Air backs away from Baron for the moment. That inhibitor down to about half health now.
So Jin Air might have to back up, though. Che took more than half his life in poke. Ever's going to be able to back away. Crazy in particular can pick up the minion wave. So we still have not seen this inhibitor go down, even though the inhibitor turret went down over 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. Just enough minions there to defend it, I guess.
For now. This does feel a little bit like the old Jin Air, where they need to find a way to close out this game. It's probably going to be the Baron. It's why they've been so disciplined at returning to it consistently. They have the Mountain Dragon in their pocket. That Baron damage is very strong with Azir and Lucian.
A teleport bringing Crazy a little bit closer, too. But
that's done.
What can he do? Yeah, it's too late. The Baron's already been taken. Crazy already on the run. Some arrows coming through from Tempt, but Jin Air is looking pretty tough right now. Can they turn this into a game-winning push, though? Maybe. Maybe they can. We'll see.
Ever really need to go for some sort of a desperation play. We've seen crazy things. We've seen teams come back from 3 inhibitors down. Think KT Rolster against MVP, but it's really difficult to see how that will come to be.
That's right. A little bit of damage dealt to each side. They're gunning for that inhibitor.
Chains of Corruption goes wide. They don't have that ult now.
That's right. Tempt couldn't quite land that one. And so that's going to be an easy inhibitor. Totoro actually gets cocooned, tries to get away. Takes a lot of damage from the culling. And Jin Air maybe, I don't know. Pilot's so low. I don't know if you can really push this too much.
We'll have to back away because of Pilot's health bar, as you mentioned. That was one single Q from Tempt in the late game, which is what Varus can do.
Yep.
So we'll continue to delay what is very much looking like a march to the win from Jin Air, but we would have said the same thing about MVP in that KT game too. So
that is true. That is true. But like, this is Jin Air though. That's the difference. Is that these guys are just known for playing these ultra long, ultra safe games. And you know, it may not be the most thrilling League of Legends you've ever seen, but it does work to a certain extent.
You can't argue with the results. Last season, their finish of 3rd was really big for them. 4th actually it was on the season, which was much higher than many analysts would have tipped. You know, Trace had that huge reinvigoration at the start of the season that propelled them to a lot of wins, and then ended up capitulating to SKT to finish 4th, but I thought, you know, every season with the roster they have, I'm waiting for Jin Air to fall away, but they keep performing. You know, credit to this team. They have continued to rise without significant roster changes. They've changed their mid laner, but not really a lot about the team ethos or playstyle has changed from that.
True. You know, one interesting thing as well is that for most of the season they were actually in 2nd place. They finished 4th, but they were just below the Rocks Tigers for a lot of it. Moving in now with this inhibitor turret. Winged gonna go ahead and stay safe for the moment anyway as he backs out. Culling used. There goes the inhibitor turret. So all inhibitor turrets down. Soon all inhibitors, I've got a feeling, are going to be gone as well.
It's going to require 2 aces from Ever to win this game. The first one might be enough pressure for them to get an inhibitor, then finishing the game off the back of that, but that's really all they can hope for, and if anyone gets caught...
Ooh, Bramall doesn't hit Tempt. Jay throws up the shield anyway, though. Bless goes and has to back out immediately. Too squishy. Here comes Trace on the back lines. Blanc trying to get a good angle. Gets taken out by Crazy, though. And Ever turning this one around despite losing the inhibitor. Trace on the run. Che absorbing some of that damage with the shield. And looks like Trace is not going to make it out of this one. So 2 kills going over to Ever after this Guardian Angel comes back up, and Bless having a hard time killing all of these minions. That's right. The super minions doing tons of damage. They may actually lose a Nexus turret. It's going to be close, but they'll barely save it for the moment.
Lives on 335 HP, will regen, but you can see 2 kills stops the assault from Jin Air, but is nowhere near enough for Ever to get really any semblance of map pressure. The next Baron spawning, the next Elder Dragon spawning, they're still not really in a position to contest those objectives till all 3 inhibitors have respawned.
Well, I mean, and the thing is that getting to their opponent's inhibitors isn't going to be easy either, because all the turrets are still up in the base.
So we're going to see the replay this time. What I want you to really watch is how good the snipe is from Tempt to get the first kill in this fight. Charges up the Q, snipes out Blanc, who dies with, I believe, Zhonya's available. Really halts their front line. Trace had already dived in. Dies with his Guardian Angel down. So you think about some of the item efficiency. Guardian Angel certainly won't be up for the next fight. So it's a little bit of wiggle room for Ever to work up in a fight, because there's going to be less zone control from an Echo with Ultimate and Guardian Angel to contend.
True. Another Elder Dragon on the way in about 1:40 now.
It's triple Zhonya's actually from Jin Air. That's cute.
I was a little bit surprised to see the Zhonya's on Winged.
It's just so cheap now at 2,900 gold. It's cheaper than basically every other relevant AP item.
I guess that's true.
And stasis against a pick comp, just consider it.
Yeah.
They're trying to burst you down in 2.5 seconds. 2.5 second stasis, decrease aggro, kite back from it. It's actually a very realistic pickup now because it's so cheap.
Yeah, true. I saw him Zhonya's and I'm like, wait, you got a Zhonya's? I'm thinking, oh, are you sure there's not a Bard in this game after all?
You know, with the QSS changes, I was kind of wondering if there'd be any cheeky AD carry Zhonya's in the late game, but somehow I think that's going to be unlikely.
Yeah. Oh, that middle inhibitor up. But for how long?
Still a lot of flashes up on the side of Jin Air, and crucially not one on Crazy to try and get a flash for it.
Oh boy, Tempt has to flash away as he takes the culling and a lot of damage as well. Cocoon onto Totoro. Can they make a play here? Maybe. They slow him down a bit. He's got that shield though. It's Karma. Jin Air doing some pretty good pokes, some near catches as they move in to take out this final inhibitor once again.
Tristana's hit the ultra late game with a Zeke's Herald buff as well, so it's super, super powerful. So there's a lot of damage to contend with for Jin Air, but for now, they can push up pretty comfortably, get enough poke damage to get that inhibitor.
Yeah, I thought Ever was going to engage there. They looked like they were going to do it with that Karma speed, but instead they're just going to lose their final inhibitor. And Bless has just been able to do nothing all game, man. This Kha'Zix has kind of been a bit of a dud. Parallel Convergence gets the stun, but not enough follow-up to take down the Kha'Zix. Inhibitor back up in the top lane now. But yeah, this Kha'Zix just hasn't done anything. It's gone in, tried to assassinate people, immediately gotten blown up, and that was it.
Look, it's worth noting that the jungle pool was aggressively hit this game. There wasn't a lot of top-tier picks. We talked about the likes of Lee Sin.
They could have taken Elise. They had first pick. They could have taken Lee Sin as well.
It's just any other jungler, any semblance of a control jungler, at least you have someone that can put down wards, has a sight stone if you're Lee Sin, or the Tracker's Knife, has tankiness, so can actually be a pseudo frontliner. Bless is trying to be a damage frontliner, but is getting punished for it instantly. It's just such a low percentage play. And I agree, I feel like if any other jungler had been selected that could just opt into tankiness and put down wards, they wouldn't have had to give away free objective after free objective. How many has there been? And this is just going to be another one.
Yeah, another Elder Dragon going over to Jin Air. That's going to give them that 50% bonus on the 2 Ocean Drake stacks they have and the single Mountain Drake stack they have. Objectives going to be falling very, very quickly against these guys. It looks like they just want to bull rush the mid lane right now.
Objectives are the only things that are falling quickly, though, because we only had 7 kills in 49 minutes.
I know, don't remind me. Oh. I was so excited about this matchup, and then it's back to the old Jin Air. I mean, they're playing well. You can't disagree with what they're doing. It's effective.
Again, I think you should put all your aggro on the Kha'Zix pick. I think that's what's really stopped Ever from really playing on the front foot like they like to, and Jin Air have just played the percentage game that they are very well known to do.
True. And now going for this Baron, and again, like, Ever has no vision. They can't stop this from happening. I mean, Jin Air is just simply playing way better in the later stages of the game than Ever is. Once again,
I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think Ever's playing badly in the late game. They just can't, with the comp they have, do anything about it.
You don't think they could be more aggressive with the vision or anything like that?
Who is going to put down the aggressive vision? Is the Kha'Zix that keeps dying instantly? Like,
that's not my job to figure out.
But the issue is much more in the pick ban, where they picked a team that can't put down wards, and blue trinkets were nerfed, so you can't just go for spot vision. So they literally have no way. It's not that they don't know the Baron's going down. It's just they can't get there because the last 3 times they tried to face check a brush, they died.
Well, that's Kha'Zix, I guess.
Such as Kha'Zix. One day you'll make us a believer, Kha'Zix. One day.
Well, I mean, that day was like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, the R-Evolution insect tank Kha'Zix.
There you go. Crazy trying to land some damage onto Trace, but not really getting much out of it. Loken just going to back off for the moment. Culling used. Che locked up for a second. He's in a little bit of danger. Bless immediately gets burst down. There's the inhibitor. And can Jin Air end with this Baron buff? They've got minions coming from the mid lane now, too. Maybe they can do it.
Really need the hero pick onto one of these damage dealers. They keep respecting the damage. That keeps extending the game. If you give Loken free auto attacks, you will take massive damage, but the inhibitors have been down for so much of the past 15 minutes.
Yeah, Jin Air wants to take the final inhibitor once again. Loken hit with that cocoon. Crazy now the one taking some damage. Bless looks for an angle, goes on to Trace. He's not going to be able to burst that Echo down. Jin Air, though, takes a lot of damage. Winged gets very, very low. Yes, Ever going for it. It's now or never. Zhonya Zeus, there goes Blanc. Ever gets 1 kill against the team with Baron. Azir turret doing a bit. But it is pretty amazing how resilient this team is in the team fight. But, again, they've managed to not die, but can they win?
That's the crazy thing, is that even though they keep piling on inhibitors, there's still always a team fight that Ever can win with the massive damage specifically from Loken. They've gone full Loken build. He's got 6 items. If we learned anything from the promotion match, he's probably going to sell those boots for a Trinity Force or something at some point, even on a champion like Tristana that doesn't quite have the same spell rotations as Sivir and other champions, just because he just needs to be the one-man carry that he can be. This is a guy who's known for this. It's being relied on it.
True.
They're pushing up mid. There's just no objectives realistically for them to take.
Right, I mean, Dragon's down, Baron's down. You can't really get to those tier 2, the tier 2 turret up in top lane right now. It's tough for Ever. I mean, what they really need is they need to actually ace Jin Air. If they can win a team fight definitively, they can go and take some other stuff.
But Jin Air haven't really shown a commitment to overextending for anything other than free objectives, and Ever understand the situation they're in and what they can't do, which is get vision anywhere near an objective. So we're in an impasse here, Doa.
Impasse?
Yeah, an impasse.
An impasse? All right. I haven't heard it pronounced the other way, but I don't know. I don't know how you Australians say things.
Well, they don't say it that way. Oh, I was thinking more French, but
oh.
I could just be wrong. There's that possibility too. I've been wrong before. I don't know if the viewers ever caught that, though.
My faith in you has been shaken like never before.
An analyst that was wrong?
That doesn't happen.
I tipped the Rocks Tigers for
Where's
that final.
Pitchforks and rope?
I tipped KT Rolster against SKT as well.
Well, see, that's just ignorance, man.
I know. I got no excuses.
You and Monty.
Yep. KT, Monty, and me.
Yep. You'll learn something. Jin Air doing their best to control this bottom. jungle, and it looks like they can just sort of push Ever right back to their base. And you know, Ever wants to try to set up for this team fight once again. You know, if they can win this team fight by a lot, if they can get 3 kills or something maybe, then perhaps they can go and take an objective.
Question is, will Jin Air ever actually overextend until they have both Baron and Elder Dragon? And then we're talking about
maybe
long respawn times for both those objectives. There's no more 6-minute dragons. It's 10 minutes at this point in the game.
I know.
Massive downtime for that objective.
Well, Chains of Corruption lands onto Che, but no follow-up for ESC Ever at the moment as they try to defend their bottom inhibitor. They'll keep it alive for a second. Take some damage though, as they had to send Crazy up to deal with the wave up in top lane.
I'm trying to group. It's so low. Crazy's not there. They can all in on Loken. He does have QSS available, but
Culling used. Tempt taking some damage. Inhibitor now almost knocked while Trace goes in. There goes the inhibitor. All 3. Well, 2 of the 3 down once again as the middle one has respawned. I think we've seen something like 5 or 6 inhibitors killed this game now.
It's insane.
Ugh.
If there was an inhibitors killed stat, it would be, again, double digits at this point, you'd have to think.
Maybe. Well, I suppose with Baron coming up in a minute, Jin Air will be happy to wait until then.
Center yourself, Doa. Get your chi together, because it's gonna, I mean, there's just nothing to allow Jin Air to finish this game, because Ever's surrendering the objectives that Jin Air want to fight around. They want to kite back around Baron, it's just they'd have nothing to kite away from because no one's coming anywhere near Baron or Dragon.
Yeah, so they just get the buff. But if they get the buff then, they still have to deal with an ESC Ever that's formidable in the team fight. But you know, for how much longer, I don't know.
Well, let's return to these team fighting comps that Jin Air, for example, is running that has low initiation but kites back well. You know, think of Azir kiting back, Braum kiting back, Echo kiting back. Very good peel team. We always say, they can't really initiate fights, but damn, when the team has to fight for Baron or Dragon, they're in a great spot to kite backwards.
True.
Apparently Ever's just saying, well, we're not going to fight for Baron or Dragon. You try finish the game.
This is going to be one of those really long ones. I can feel it, man.
Well, unless someone face checks, which again is something else that Ever has done this game.
It's possible. Youmuu's popped. They're going to go after Tempt, but Tempt just kind of crab walks away. I think Tempt went to the Shen School of Walking.
What did Trace teleport onto? Because he was back in base with the teleport.
Maybe he must have canceled it, I guess.
Weird.
Started something, canceled it. I didn't notice it myself.
I saw the channel and then him running, so that was weird.
I was watching Varus's kind of crazy crab walk.
So this time Ever do feel frisky enough to start walking up near the Baron.
I suppose.
Ooh, Jin Air. They're going for it.
Uh-oh, yeah, Jin Air going right for the base. Well, I thought they were going to. There's no minion waves pushing, though, right now for Jin Air, so a little bit tougher to bust down the back door. It's not really a back door. It's more
he's
like
going down the front door right now.
I mean, the thing is,
look at Tempt.
Yeah, he's trying. I mean, he's recalling now. That's all he can do.
Teleporting back, so he does actually have a much faster recall timer.
This is not a back door, by the way, from Jin Air. This is like if they're the Kool-Aid man coming through a wall. They're like, oh, yeah! Now they're going to back away like the Kool-Aid man that realizes he busted through the wall of the wrong house.
It's crazy.
Which I'm sure happened once in a while.
It's crazy that Varus was solo pushing a minion wave down mid at 55 minutes while Jin Air 5-man backdoor an inhibitor.
I know, right? Going to go for a Baron, and that Baron is going to fall so fast, man. I mean, they've got that Mountain Giant buff. Or Mountain Giant.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, big fight happening now. Che get in the middle of everything. Crazy taking a lot of damage. Winged doing what he can
still not dead.
On that Elise. That's right. Somehow he's living. Bless somehow still alive too. Loken jumps in. This Tristana could do work. Pilot misses a culling flash Q from Che to slow down Loken. Catches a cocoon as well with his face. Bless backing away now. Loken staying for the fight as long as he can, but finally Pilot gets the kill, and that's going to be the end of the game. Jin Air takes the team fight, gets the near ace. There's the ace now, as Bless finally the last one to fall, and Jin Air going to clean this one up easily.
Finally ever leave their safe zone of the base that has served them so well for 20 minutes. Tempt fighting in terrain that he's not suited for. He does not have a QSS, was permanently stunned, did no damage, almost sustained with the Mormar Mortius, but was taken down so whatever, even with a valiant team fighting performance. Loken doing Loken things on the late game AD carry, and Jin Air take it out. It looked like it was going to be a clean 35-minute win. Ever held on.